Welcome back. We are seeing flexibility method, which is a force method. Force method means our focus is degree of static indeterminacy. We always start with looking at the unknown support reactions, what we call as redundant forces. We release the structure of the redundants, and the given indeterminate configuration we express as superposition of a few determinate configurations. We apply superposition equations of compatibility, we get our redundant forces, and that is our analysis, and then we can go ahead with SFD, BMD, etc. So here is our next problem. And in this problem we are trying to see two things together. First of all, how to handle an overhanging portion, and secondly, there is a degree of static indeterminacy of 3. That means we are going to have 3 redundants, a 3x3 flexibility matrix, M1, M2, M3 diagrams like that. So let's see the problem. And first of all, I will discuss all these diagrams, I will discuss all the notations, and then as a formality, I will be discussing the calculations, because the conceptual understanding is really here, particularly in flexibility method. So this is our continuous beam, A, B, C, D, E. A is a fixed end, B and C are interior roller supports. Even D is an interior roller support because we have D to E an overhang portion of 3 meters. The other spans are 4 meters, 3 meters, 4 meters, and we have a UDL of 10 kilonewtons per meter acting throughout the span. It is possible that when you are solving some textbook problem, reference book problem, or even in examination, you may have different loading on different span that will only make your bending moment entries slightly different, slightly more involved. Conceptually, flexibility method will remain same. So, if you see that there is some point load here, there is UDL here, there is couple moment here, or things like that, you should not get confused. Now how to solve this problem by flexibility method? The method remains same, your bending moments will be different, your calculations may be slightly more involved, as I said. Okay, first of all, what am I doing? This is a given beam. Now as we are doing in all displacement methods, we get rid of that cantilever portion. We never discuss that overhanging portion or cantilever portion as a part of our problem. We treat it separately. So let us say that this particular portion has been ignored. Ignored means what? Its equivalent force system I have developed and I have shown acting in my modified beam. So observe the diagram for modified beam where I am showing supports A, B, C and D, and then for the overhanging portion I am calculating 10 multiplied by 3. 10 multiplied by 3 will be 30, that is 30 kilonewton load acting at midpoint of the overhanging portion or mid span of the overhanging portion, that is at 1.5 meters. What I am trying to convey, I am showing here, mind you, we only have a UDL here, no additional force. This UDL I am converting into an equivalent load. So for this UDL portion acting over overhanging portion, I am representing resultant force of 30 kilonewtons acting at 1.5 meters and 1.5 meters from both the ends. Span is 3 meters, mid span will be 1.5 meters, and now this point load I will shift to D point, I will change its line of action. When I do so, it will get shifted as 30 kilonewton load and 30 into 1.5. 30 multiplied by 1.5, that is 45 kilonewton meter. So the equivalent of this overhanging UDL portion eventually becomes a point load of 30 kilonewton acting at point D and a clockwise couple movement of 45 kilonewton meter. Now I will be solving this modified beam. So to solve it, first of all I am showing all unknown reactions. There will be MA, VA, there will be RB, RC and RD. Then I am writing nodes. I am writing extreme end D as node 1, C as node 2, B as node 3. In our previous problem, we had written B as 1 and C as 2. It doesn't matter, but as a hint or as a thumb rule, I would like to say that you start from the extreme outside or exterior support in your given beam or modified beam and go inside as 1, 2, 3. Your bending moment expressions will become simpler and your unit load calculations will also become slightly simpler. This is just a thumb rule. Theoretically, which you call as node 1 and which you call as node 3, it doesn't matter. But as a suggestion, start from exterior end and go inside 1, 2, 3. Now I have written degree of static indeterminacy is equal to 5 unknown support reactions minus 2 equations of equilibrium available, ignoring sigma fx equal to 0 equation. So my degree of static indeterminacy is 3. That means there are 3 additional reactions in absence of which also there would be equilibrium theoretically. Try to understand, this is theoretical discussion. If you look at the total span, it is going to be 4 plus 3 plus 4 plus 3, that is 14 meters. If you remove all these supports, you are getting 14 meters cantilever. Not that it is impossible, but it is not recommended or it is avoided. Or it has to be designed very specially. Probably it has a tapering section, cross section like that. But theoretically, we say that there are 3 redundant forces in absence of which also there would have been equilibrium. So we are calling those redundants as Q1 is equal to RD, Q2 is equal to RC and Q3 is equal to RB. Then what is my next step? This configuration I am resolving, I am splitting into a few determinate configurations. So first of all, I am removing roller supports B, C and D. So my indeterminate beam, indeterminate continuous beam is becoming a determinate cantilever beam as you are seeing in my M diagram. Observe. So you see that the loading is same. This is 30 kilonewton point load. This is 45 kilonewton meter couple moment. There is the UDL of 10 kilonewtons per meter intensity. I have not written or repeated those values because I am finding a space crunch there. But actually this loading is same. Same values are assumed here. Same values have been used as we will discuss in the bending moment writing equation. So it is same loading, only B, C, D roller supports have been removed and you have your M diagram, you have your cantilever determinate beam. Then I am showing in my diagram the displacements due to loads, gravity loads, original span loads corresponding to Q1, Q2 and Q3, the redundant forces. That is RD, RC and RB. So please observe, this is my node 1, this is my Q1, Q1 is a force. So corresponding displacement is deflection and not slow. So that deflection DD prime I am calling as DQL1, displacement corresponding to redundant Q1 due to loads. Similarly, corresponding to Q2 equal to RC, deflection is being called as DQN2, corresponding to Q3 is equal to RB, my third redundant, the displacement BB prime, the deflection BB prime is being called as DQL3. How do I calculate DQL1, DQL2, DQL3? Do I have any standard results? That is not possible because loading is not standard. But then I have unit load method, and that is one of the reasons why in the next step we are applying unit loads and not directly RD, RC and RB. So this is my M diagram, and the notations I presume DQL1, DQL2, DQL3 are perfectly understood by you. How to calculate that we are going to see separately. And now let's observe M1 diagram. What do we mean by M1 diagram? I am going for superposition. Firstly, I have shown a determinate cantilever beam with all external loads, gravity loads, let's say received from the slab. Now we are applying RD, but not entire RD directly to begin with. I am applying unit, that is one value of RD. I am writing Q1 is equal to 1. Though my actual Q1 is RD, its unit value I am applying. So I am writing Q1 is equal to 1, and that I am calling as my M1 diagram. The logic is very simple. Whatever displacements I get due to unit load, if I multiply those by magnitude of RD, I will get the actual displacements. So by 1 it is so much, then by RD it will be how much? That is my very simple arithmetic. Going ahead, see the flexibility notations. First of all, why flexibility? Because we are applying unit action. Corresponding to unit action, whatever displacement we are getting, that we call as flexibility. Observe this displacement DD prime. It is displacement at 1 due to unit load at 1, so it is F11. Observe this CC prime deflection. It is deflection at 2 due to unit load at 1. So it is F21. The first subscript is always location of displacement, that is consequence. Second subscript is always location of cause. This has happened because of this, that is what we stated. So it is flexibility at 2 due to unit load at 1. Similarly, observe displacement BB prime. It is deflection at node 3 due to unit load at node 1. So we are calling it flexibility 3-1. Next, I have applied unit value of Q1. Now I am applying unit value of Q2. When I apply unit value of Q2, somewhat like this is my deflection. Try to understand here. You may zoom in if you want to observe carefully, or you may imagine, you may just understand and take it as read. What have I shown? A to B prime to C prime, there is a curvature, there is bending, and then C prime to D prime, I have tried to draw a straight line. So we are just trying to be as perfect as possible in our work. You may say that where does it matter in our calculation? It doesn't matter. However, I am just trying to portray the realistic picture that if you apply unit load here, this portion is not undergoing any bending. It is simply undergoing a general plane motion. It is simply moving, that's all. And this portion is actually deformed. Where will it matter? When I write bending moment for CD portion in M2 drawing, it is going to be 0. Coming back to observe D prime deflection. It is deflection at node 1 due to unit load at 2. So I am calling it F at 1 due to unit load at 2, that is F12. Observe deflection CC prime. It is deflection at node 2 due to unit load at node 2. So I am calling it F22. Observe deflection at B to B prime. It is deflection at 3 due to unit load at 2. So I am calling it F32. Check. F flexibility. consequence, that is deflection or displacement due to unit load. Finally, I write M3 diagram. We replaced, or rather we applied unit value of Q1, unit value of Q2 successively, and now I am applying unit value of RB, or rather unit value of Q3, redundant Q3. So observe the drawing. A to B prime is bending and B prime, C prime, D prime is actually a straight line. There is no action to bend this particular elastic portion, this particular beam. D to D prime, it is deflection at 1 due to unit load at 3, F13. C to C prime, deflection at 2 due to unit load at 3, F23. And BB prime, deflection at 3 due to unit load at 3, so it is F33. So these drawings depict the superposition that we are carrying out. These drawings are actually depicting the methodology of the flexibility approach, and here we are defining DQL1, DQL2, DQL3, F11 through F33, all the flexibility coefficients. And what is that so-called superposition approach? It is simply like this, that this beam is equal to this beam plus this into RD plus this into RC plus this into RB. We are applying 1, so I am multiplying the consequence by RB, RC, RD. I am going to get my actual consequence. The compilation of these 4 drawings, M diagram, M1, M2, M3 should eventually give me my modified beam, and then of course that is given beam. So this is the methodology, and in last lecture and last to last lecture also we tried to understand all these notations, flexibility coefficients. See that you are perfectly following this, because actually the numerical example or the concept is over here. Now what remains is just a mathematical formality of arriving at the solution. So now let's see the calculation part. And for finding DQL1, DQL2, DQL3 and of course all the flexibility coefficients, we are using unit load method approach. So I am writing the table. I am expressing my bending moments in a systematic tabulated form, which will help me substitute my quantities in the integration. So the table has the usual columns: span, origin, limits, capital M, this is bending moment from capital M diagram. M1, M2, M3 are successively, respectively, bending moment expressions from M1, M2 and M3 diagrams. It is as simple as that. Starting with span DC, and I am maintaining my origin for all my calculations as D only. You may change the origin, but it doesn't really prove to be convenient, especially in continuous beams. If it's a frame, yes, you may maintain same origin for one column, one beam, and then for the remaining column you may change the origin. That is possible. That we will see as we solve the frames. See, you have to understand and do what is convenient, what is swift, what is short, that's all. So I am keeping origin as D only. And then for DC span, my limits are going to be 0 to 4. For CB span, my limits are going to be 4 to 7, because I am counting 0 from here. So 0 to 4, 4 to 7, 7 to 11. Total span is 11, ignoring this overhanging portion of course. So you are observing DC followed by CB followed by BA. I am going inside from right side, right extreme point, that is D point, and then my origin is D only, and then my limits are 0 to 4, 4 to 7, 7 to 11. No big deal at all, very simple. Just pay attention to the drawings and to what am I saying and what we are writing, you will get it easily. going ahead with M diagram bending moment. So the whole concept is that I am imagining a section here at a distance x from origin B. What will be the bending moment? It is going to be hogging bending moment due to 30 kN load. It is going to be hogging bending moment due to 45 kN couple moment, and it is going to be hogging bending moment due to this UDL. So that is what I am writing here. Negative 45 moment of couple hogging. Negative 30 into x. This is due to the point load. This load 30 or this point load 30 into x, again hogging, and since intensity of loading is 10, I am writing the last term as negative 10 x squared by 2. That is negative 10 into x by 2, that has become minus 10 x squared by 2. Minus means hogging. So as far as span BC is concerned, the bending moment at section is due to three causes: couple moment, point load, and UDL. That's why I am having three expressions, all hogging. Now, when I think of section CB, so I am continuing my discussion on M, capital M, bending moment. When I consider section to be in span CB, x value will be that much more, obviously. X will now vary between 4 and 7. So my section is here. You are observing that my bending moment expression will remain same. Try it on your paper. Actually draw the section also and see that bending moment expression will remain same. 45 kilonewton hogging, kilonewton meter hogging, 30 into x, a larger x comparatively, great, but it is x, variable. So 30 into x, again hogging, and for that matter 10x squared by 2, again hogging. So you are observing that even in span CB, my terms are just repeated, minus 45, minus 30x, minus 10x squared by 2. So is the case for the next span also. Even if my section is here, my x variable has even further grown larger. Now x is varying between 7 and 11. Nevertheless, the bending moment expression remains same. X value is different now, or x range is different. So again I am writing negative 45 hogging bending moment due to applied couple, negative 30 into x hogging bending moment due to point load at the free end of the released beam, and hogging bending moment due to UDL 10 into x by 2, that is 10x squared by 2. So you see that even in span BA, within limit 7 to 11, this is the range of variation of x values, my bending moment expression is just the same. Great. Let's proceed to M1 calculations. That is, now my focus is here, and let's say I am showing one section here. This distance is x. How much is going to be bending moment? It is going to be 1 multiplied by x sagging. You are observing sag here throughout the beam. So I am writing in span CD, limit 0 to 4, bending moment is 1 into x, that is x. You may just write x. If my section goes in BC span, x value will become large, no doubt. X range will become 4 to 7, but the bending moment expression in terms of x will remain same, 1 into x sagging. So that is what I have written here, 1 into x sagging. Same is the case for last span. Even if the section is here, I am pointing it out with my palm, right hand palm, then also you are observing that bending moment is going to be 1 into that large x, but 1 into x, and the range for x variation will be 7 to 11 meters. So I get the same expression here, 1 into x. As I pointed out sometimes back, if your loading is different, not for M1 into M3 diagrams, but for released structure with loads, that is capital M diagram, these bending moment expressions may change, but the flexibility method philosophy remains same, approach remains same. Now we start with M2 diagram. This is the load applied, unit value of redundant Q2 applied. When I consider section CD, there is not going to be any bending moment because there is no load on the right side or in span CD at all. So I am writing 0, and this we discussed earlier that this portion is a straight line, it is not bent at all. Then I consider section in CB span, that is the section is here. But try to understand, B is my origin, that is this is going to be my X, so this small distance is going to be X minus 4, just check. Total is X, this much is 4, so this is going to be X minus 4, then my bending moment will be 1 into X minus 4 sagging, that is what I have written for span CB, it is 1 into X minus 4 positive under M2. And similarly, when the section goes here, again large distance will be X, this distance 4 meters, so the remaining distance from Q2 equal to 1 up to the section is going to be X minus 4. X value will be large, no doubt. So again my bending moment is sagging 1 into X minus 4, that is what I have written here, 1 into X minus 4. I am just hoping that you are understanding section positions in various spans, you are understanding what is hogging, what is sagging, you are following perfectly. Why am I writing here 1 into X or 1 into X minus 4, whatever quantities I have written, because this is elementary mechanics of materials or strength of materials. This is not something which is, the discussion of this is not within the scope of structural analysis. It is presumed that you are able to imagine sections, you are able to imagine sagging, hogging, you are able to calculate these bending moments, etc. M3 diagram. In M3 diagram, we have Q3 is equal to 1 acting at B position. So as far as span CD and span BC are concerned, there is no loading on those spans. Bending moment is going to be 0. So that is what we are observing in M3. This is 0 and this is 0 for both the spans, BC as well as CD. Bending moment is 0. And when I come to AB, my section is here. Though my section is here, my origin is still D. I am counting X from here. So if this total distance is X, this distance is 7, 4 plus 3 meters. So the remaining distance is going to be X minus 7, and then my bending moment is going to be 1 into X minus 7 sagging, so positive. So that is what I have written under BS span with origin as D and range for variation of X being 7 to 11, our bending moment is hardly 1 into X minus 7. Great, our table is ready. We perfectly know in each span for these 4 different cases M, M1, M2, M3 what are the bending moments. So now we are free to compute all the flexibility parameters including DQL1, 2, 3 and flexibility 1, 1 up to 3, 3. So that is what I am showing in my next step, these calculations. I have not shown substitution, these calculations I have actually done. You also please do, but I will explain each calculation step by step. See that you are getting that answer so that we can go to the concluding part of the numerical example. Observe DQL1, which is integral 0 to L capital M M1 dx over ER. I have already told you that DQL1, DQL2, DQLT, DQL3, the first term is going to be capital M and the second term as per 1, 2, 3 will vary as M1, M2 and M3 with respect to x upon ei. That is the way we calculate. This is how we apply unit load method, and this expression can actually be proved when we see the fundamentals of unit load method. So great, I have 0 to L and I have 3 spans, so I have 3 integrations, 0 to 4 m into m1. Now pay attention, as I told you that I am only going to discuss the calculations. I have not shown the calculations or substitutions. I have done the calculation and shown the answer directly. So you have to do it carefully, correctly, right now. So when I say 0 to L and I have 3 spans, I need to say 0 to 4, this into this dx upon ei, plus 4 to 7, this into this dx upon ei, plus 7 to 11, this into this dx upon ei. Now observing that this and this are same expressions in all the span, that is our integrand is same. So instead of going for 3 separate integrations, you can directly do 0 to 11. Integration is anyway summation, an elegant way of taking summation or more thorough summation. A summation of variable quantities, not discrete quantities or distant quantities. So if the integrand is same, you can directly go for 0 to 4, 4 to 7, 7 to 11 as 0 to 11. So do the integration, you will get this particular answer. Then I go to dqL2, which is m2 dx over ei integral 0 to L. This is my m, this is my m2. Clearly this term is 0, means integral 0 to 4 is not applicable. However, integral 4 to 7, this into this, plus integral 7 to 11, this into this, I will have to do. Again, since these two terms and these two terms are same, my integrand is same, so 4 to 7, 7 to 11, I can combine and calculate as 4 to 11 directly. You split it up as 2 integrations or you take it as 1 integration, it is going to give you same answer provided the integrand portion is same. So do integration 4 to 11, this into this, 4 to 11 directly. So this into this into this you have already considered, that means 4 to 11, so that you are getting this answer negative 17007.78 upon ei. Lastly, dqL3 is going to be integral 0 to L m3 dx over ei. You are observing that for 0 to 4 and 4 to 7 you anyway have zeros here. So m into m3, you are only having one integration on your hand, 7 to 11, so that you carry out, you are getting this particular answer. And now, calculation of all those flexibility coefficients, that also we have discussed last time, and again of course I am going to discuss now. F11 is going to be m1 dx upon ei, 0 to L integral. Now if you look at m1 means m1 square, so clearly it is going to be 0 to 4 x square dx upon ei, 4 to 7 x square dx upon ei, 7 to 11 x square dx upon ei. Again, since that x square quantity is repeating itself, you may directly calculate 0 to 11 x square dx upon ei. You are getting flexibility 11 coefficient as 443.67 upon ei. Similarly, you are calculating F22, that is m2 dx over ei. It is x minus 4 square. Here also it is same, x minus 4 square. This is of course 0, not to be considered. So you simply write 4 to 11 x minus 4 bracket square dx upon ei. Why bracket square? Because it is m2. So m2 square. That's why I am saying bracket square. So 4 to 7 and 7 to 11 you did not solve two integrations. solve one integration as 4 to 11 and you will get x minus 4 square dx over ei. Integration on solving will fetch this answer. Similarly, f of 3 is m3 dx over ei. m3, this is 0, this is 0, so not to be counted, not to be considered under integral calculations. And then I simply have x minus 7 into x minus 7 because it is m3. So x minus 7 bracket square integral 7 to 11 with respect to x upon ei, and you are going to get this answer. In the same fashion, the way I have written, now you please calculate remaining integrations. I am only pointing out how they are to be done. F12 same as F21, flexibility matrix is symmetry matrix. It is going to be integral m1 m2 dx upon ei. When you calculate m1 m2, this term is 0, so not applicable. Your integration will be this into this 4 to 7, this into this 7 to 11. Since these terms are same, you may directly calculate 4 to 11 x into x minus 4. You get the answer for F12 as well as F21. Similarly, F13 same as F31. It is going to be m1 m3 dx over ei. So product m1 m3 m1 m3 simply vanishing these two spans. You have this into this integral 7 to 11 with respect to x upon ei. Very simple calculation. And then lastly, F23 is equal to F32 is equal to m2 m3 dx over ei. I have told you in last example also that these are very simple expressions to remember. Fij is mi mj dx over ei. It is like this. So if it is 2 3, it is m2 m3. If it is 1 2, it is m1 m2. If it is 3 3, it is m3 m3. It is as simple as that. So do your F23 calculation, M2 M3 calculation here and here. Question doesn't arise because the product is 0. So only the last integration x minus 4 into x minus 7 integral 7 to 11 with respect to x upon ei. You will get the final flexibility coefficient F23. After finding DQL 1, 2, 3, F11, F22, F33, F12, F13, F23. After finding all flexibility coefficients, we finally come to the compatibility equation, to the superposition equation, and in last example, logically we have clearly developed this equation. It is vector dq is equal to vector dql plus matrix F into redundant vector Q. Since our degree of static indeterminacy is 3, we are going to have dq as 3 by 1 matrix, dql as 3 by 1 matrix or vector, F as 3 by 3 matrix, square matrix, and again redundant vector is going to be 3 by 1. So I substitute. What is dq? dq means dq1, dq2, dq3. It is going to be the deflection in original beam corresponding to the redundants. Our redundants are RB, RC and RD forces. So if there are any displacements, if there are any deflections in B point, C point, D point in original given beam, then those would be my dq1, dq2, dq3. However, at roller supports, no such deflections are expected. Slope is expected, not deflection. So simply dq1 is equal to 0, dq2 is equal to 0, dq3 is equal to 0. You can readily guess that if this support is given to be a sinking support, and that is the problem we are going to solve in next lecture, you will definitely have some displacement there, some deflection there, and you would definitely have either dq1 or dq2 or dq3 as the case may be. But here sinking of support is not given, So we simply have dq1, dq2, dq3 as zeros. Then dql1, dql2, dql3 I have already calculated. This denominator 1 upon, that is denominator ei, this factor 1 upon ei, I am taking outside and I am substituting values. I am forming dql vector, 3 by 1 vector. Plus, so that plus I am writing here because I am facing the space crunch. These two steps together are forming my one equation. Plus, again, all our flexibility coefficients have ei as the denominator, so that 1 upon ei I have taken outside and I have simply substituted 1 1, 1 2, 1 3, 2 1, 2 2, 2 3, 3 1, 3 2, 3 3 flexibility coefficients. Those also we have carefully calculated, and then finally I have the q vector, redundant vector q1, q2 and q3, who are nothing but RB, RD, RC and RB respectively. Great. These are three algebraic equations in three unknowns. Your scientific calculator will directly solve it. Go for mode 5 and in that select the second option. You will directly get the matrices where you have to substitute these quantities and you will get the answer. And on actually solving, the answers that I am getting are Q1 is equal to RD is equal to 61.04 kilonewtons. Positive answer means this presumption of our forces being upwards was correct. Q2 is equal to RC is equal to 20.18 kilonewtons upwards. Q3 is equal to RB is equal to 38.35 kilonewtons upwards. It is possible that you may slightly get surprised by this answer, that how come this value is smaller than this value, why this value is very large. So the reason is here, this entire overhanging load is also coming on support D. Part of CD is also absorbed by D. So actually reaction RD is quite large, and because of this overhang or because of this effective couple movement, actually there is a tendency of uplift here. I am saying tendency, I am not saying actual uprooting or uplifting. It is not like that. But because of this couple movement, this reaction slightly is found to be reduced. That is why your RD answer is quite large, RC answer is suddenly smaller, and then there is RB answer which is a moderately acceptable answer, looks quite logical, and these are my answers, RD, RC, RB. Once you get these three answers, once you know these three, how will you find MA and VA? Obviously you will consider FBD of the beam and you will go for sigma m about A equal to 0, that will give you MA, sigma Fy equal to 0 will give you VA. So we have completed the discussion, we have completed the solving of this indeterminate beam which had degree of static indeterminacy 3 as well as which had an overhanging portion. And that is what I have written in the last step, that after you find these three, you simply consider FBD of beam, apply equilibrium equations, get the remaining two unknowns, so that your numerical is as good as over. What remains is perhaps drawing SFD and then beam. So this is yet another continuous beam handled, analyzed by flexibility method, and in next lecture we will see sinking of support, how to analyze a continuous beam with sinking of support using flexibility approach.